Good evening, and welcome to Third Church, New York City. Let's start by singing hymn number 10. I'll read the first verse. All power is given unto our Lord. On him we place reliance. With truth from out his sacred word, we bid our foes defiance. With him we shall prevail, whatever may assail. He is our shield and tower. Almighty is his power. His kingdom is forever. Hymn number 10. I'll read from the Bible and correlative passages from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. The Bible. Genesis. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, Genesis, and Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. And Jacob loved Rachel. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Joseph. And God said unto Jacob, Arise and go to Bethel. And Rachel travailed, and it came to pass when she was in hard labor, that the midwife said unto her, Fear not, thou shalt have this son also. And it came to pass, as her soul was departing, that she called his name Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin. And Rachel died. Now the sons of Jacob were 12. The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and Simeon, and Levi, and Judah, and Issachar, and Jephulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin. And the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid, Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, Gad and Asher. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him. And Joseph dreamed a dream. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brothers said unto him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? And his brothers envied him. But his father observed the saying. And Israel said unto Joseph, Do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said unto him, Here am I. And he said, Go, I pray thee, whither it be, and see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. And when they saw him afar off, they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer cometh. Now therefore, come and let us slay him. And Reuben said unto them, Shed no blood, but cast him into the pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands to deliver him to his father again. And they took him and cast him into a pit. And Judah said unto his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites. And they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house. And Joseph was a goodly person and well-favored. And his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lie with me. But he refused. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? And she caught him by the garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. When his master heard the words of his wife, his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker had offended their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh put them into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound. And they dreamed a dream. And Joseph came in unto them in the morning and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers, Wherefore look ye so sadly today? And they said unto him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph and said to him, In my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches. And her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said unto him, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head, and restore thee unto thy place. But think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also have I done nothing that they should put me into the dungeon. At the end of 2 full years Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke. And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up. And he slept and dreamed the second time, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt, and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and put me in ward in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And there was there with us a young man, an Hebrew servant, to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. God hath showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over all the land of Egypt. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine which shall be in the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Forasmuch as God has shown thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God saith, He hath made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second called he Ephraim, for God hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. And the 7 years of dearth began to come, and the famine was over all the face of the earth. Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, Get you down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob sent not with his brethren. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them. Then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn, and to restore every man's money into his sack, and to give them provision for the way. And it came to pass, when they had eaten up the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, their father said unto them, Go again, buy us a little food. Take also your brother, and arise, and go again unto the man, and God Almighty give you mercy. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the ruler of the house, Bring these men home, and slay and make ready, for these men shall dine with me at noon. And the man brought the men unto Joseph's house, and gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he gave their asses provender. And when Joseph came home, he asked them of their welfare, and said, Is your father well, the old man of whom ye spake? Is he yet alive? And they answered, Thy servant, our father, is in good health. He is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads, and made obeisance. And he lifted up his eyes, and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother, of whom ye spake unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother, and he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber, and wept there. And he washed his face, and went out, and refrained himself, and said, Set on bread. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, Cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren, and he wept aloud. And Joseph said unto his brethren, Come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves that ye sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it is not with you, so now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Haste ye, and go up to my father, and say unto him, Thus saith thy son Joseph, God hath made me lord of all Egypt. And he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck, and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck. Moreover, he kissed all his brethren, and wept upon them, and after that his brethren talked with him. And the fame thereof was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brethren are come. And it pleased Pharaoh well, and his servants. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Take your father and your households, and come unto me, and I will give you the good of the land of Egypt. And Joseph gave them wagons according to the commandment of Pharaoh, and gave them provision for the way. And to his father he sent after this manner, 10 asses laden with the good things of Egypt, and 10 she-asses laid with corn and bread and meat for his father by the way. So he sent his brethren away, and they departed, and he said unto them, See that ye fall not out of the way. And they came into the land of Canaan unto Jacob their father, and told him, saying, Joseph is yet alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart fainted, for he believed them not. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived. And Israel said, It is enough. Joseph, my son, is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die. And Israel took his journey. And God spake unto Israel in the visions of the night, and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. And he said, I am God, the God of thy father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation. 1 Peter. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. 2 Peter. Whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these ye might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. And from the Science and Health. Man is the family name for all ideas, the sons and daughters of God. All that God imparts moves in accord with him, reflecting goodness and power. With one Father, even God, the whole family of man would be brethren, and with one mind, and that God or good, the brotherhood of man would consist of love and truth, and have unity of principle and spiritual power, which constitute divine science. Whatever inspires with wisdom, truth, or love, be it song, sermon, or science, blesses the human family with crumbs of comfort from Christ's table, feeding the hungry and giving living waters to the thirsty. Immortals, or God's children in divine science, are one harmonious family, but mortals, or the children of men in material sense, are discordant and ofttimes false brethren. The destruction of the claims of mortal mind through science, by which man can escape from sin and mortality, blesses the whole human family. Jacob, inspiration, the revelation of science in which the so-called material senses yield to the spiritual sense of life and love. Joseph, a corporeal mortal, a higher sense of truth, rebuking mortal belief or error, and showing the immortality and supremacy of truth. Pure affection, blessing its enemies. Benjamin, Jacob's son. Renewal of affections, self-offering, an improved state of mortal mind, the introduction of a more spiritual origin, a gleam of the infinite idea of the infinite principle, a spiritual type which comforts, consoles, and supports. The ancient prophets gained their foresight from a spiritual, incorporeal standpoint, not by foreshadowing evil and mistaking fact for fiction, predicting the future from a groundwork of corporeality and human belief. When sufficiently advanced in science to be in harmony with the truth of being, men become seers and prophets involuntarily, controlled not by demons, spirits, or demigods, but by the one Spirit. It is the prerogative of the ever-present divine mind and of thought which is in rapport with this mind to know the past, the present, and the future. Acquaintance with the science of being enables us to commune more largely with the divine mind, to foresee and foretell events which concern the universal welfare, to be divinely inspired, yea, to reach the range of fetterless mind. Throughout all generations, both before and after the Christian era, the Christ, as the spiritual idea, the reflection of God, has come with some measure of power and grace to all prepared to receive Christ, truth. Abraham, Jacob, Moses, and the prophets caught glorious glimpses of the Messiah, or Christ, which baptized these seers in the divine nature, the essence of love. God gives the lesser idea of himself for a link to the greater, and in return, the higher always protects the lower. The rich in spirit help the poor in one grand brotherhood, all having the same principle or Father. And blessed is that man who seeth his brother's need and supplieth it, seeking his own in another's good. Entirely separate from the belief and dream of material living is the life divine, revealing spiritual understanding and the consciousness of man's dominion over the whole earth. Acquaintance with the original texts and willingness to give up human beliefs, established by hierarchies and instigated sometimes by the worst passions of men, open the way for Christian science to be understood and make the Bible the chart of life, where the buoys and healing currents of truth are pointed out. Thus we see in both the first and last books of the Bible, in Genesis and in the Apocalypse, that sin is to be Christianly and scientifically reduced to its native nothingness. Love one another, 1 John 3:23, is the most simple and profound counsel of the inspired writer. In science, we are children of God. But whatever is of material sense or mortal belongs not to his children, for materiality is the inverted image of spirituality. Genesis and Apocalypse seem more obscure than other portions of the scripture because they cannot possibly be interpreted from a material standpoint. To the author, they are transparent, for they contain the deep divinity of the Bible. The Bible declares that all believers are made kings and priests unto God. This human sense of deity yields to the divine sense, even as the material sense of personality yields to the incorporeal sense of God and man as the infinite principle and infinite idea, as the one Father with his universal family held in the gospel of love. Let's pray for the congregation, first silently, then repeat together the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Let's sing hymn number 426. In love divine, all earth-born fear and sorrow fade as dark when dawn pours forth her light. And understanding prayer is fully answered when trustingly we turn to God aright. Hymn number 426. This church is a branch of the Mother Church, the First Church of Christ Scientist in Boston, Massachusetts. We hold Sunday services at 11 a.m. and Wednesday testimony meetings at 7:30 p.m. We also have services in Spanish, Sundays at 1 p.m. and Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. All services are now held online and in person. We thank you for observing social distancing and for wearing a mask. We offer Sunday school classes online for children and teens. These free one-hour classes are held each Sunday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. At Sunday school, students learn how much God loves them and cares for them. They also learn about the Bible characters and lessons and the healing power of truth. If you know of children and teens who may be interested, please send us an email, thirdchurch@thirdchurchnyc.com. Third Church's reading room is open and all are welcome. The reading room provides a quiet place for prayer and study. Here you may also purchase books and recordings on Christian Science. The reading room also has the latest issues of the Christian Science Monitor, an award-winning international news weekly, available to read or purchase. Reading room hours are Monday through Friday, 1 to 4 p.m. Christian Science is practical, and it heals. Our meeting is now open for all to share experiences of healing and spiritual insights that prove God's ever-presence and power in their lives. If you are listening by telephone and would like to share, press *6 and wait until your line is unmuted. If you're watching by Zoom, you can choose the raise your hand icon or simply unmute yourself and speak. Welcome.
Thank you very much for your reading.
Or echoing.
Years ago, there was a member of the church that gave a testimony of surviving an accident. Am I being heard? I was.
Right. Go right
It's
ahead.
all. Okay, good. I'll continue. She said that she had been in an accident, a car had hit her, something like that. And she had fallen to the ground, and everybody was very concerned and gathering around her. And she said, "God is my life." And she said that in her testimony. And it struck me when I was hearing it, how unusual a thing to say. But the more I read and study, the more I see how correct she was, how metaphysically right that is. That God is life, and we are all expressions of that life, and that life isn't a function of a corporeal body. We have a life that is spiritual. That's what our scientific statement of being inculcates, teaches us. Recently, I encountered someone who had lost a loved one, and I wanted to think of words of consolation. And I remembered another testimony by a member of the church. She had lost her husband. And she was thinking on that, and she heard the hymn, "Green pastures are before me, which yet I have not seen." And she thought, well, he loved to play golf, and he was just going to see new green pastures where he could play golf. And the Christian faith is that the termination of the life in the body is not a termination of life at all. God is life. And this lifted her up and gave her comfort. There was a testimony, an article that was referred to our membership recently by another a great lecturer, a very popular lecturer of years ago, and he wrote this article on life and what a healing it was to get a spiritual sense of life. I'm very grateful for the church and for Mary Baker Eddy's teachings and the continuity of Christianity and the growth of Christianity and this sense of spiritual life.
Thank you.
One of the Science and Health citations from tonight was entirely separate from the belief and dream of material living. And I remember being very impressed with that statement. I was new to Christian Science. In fact, I was just reading periodicals in graduate school. I had not even seen a practitioner or read Science and Health. But I remember a testimony where a family was traveling and something happened to the son. What happened, I don't remember. But what the practitioner said to the parent that called was, he is entirely separate from this. And I remember at one point being in very acute pain and working with a practitioner. I was not on my own, but the pain was intense, so intense that the temptation was to go to a hospital. It was a short-lived temptation, but you know how a mortal mind can bully you. And I remember lying on my bed while she worked. She said, call me in 30 minutes. And I remember lying on my bed, and just what came to me that night was, this is separate from me. I'm going to separate myself from this suggestion of pain. And I could feel that she was working, and that's about all I could do for about 25 minutes was to say, I'm separating myself. This is separate from me. This has nothing to do with me or my body. And within 25 minutes, that pain had entirely left. And I called the practitioner, and I was very grateful for that. And I remember a practitioner I worked with a lot in New York would sometimes say when I called, that has nothing to do with you. And I knew what he meant, but I think not until that experience with the pain did I really understand it. And I've testified to this previously, but I was 2 summers ago, I think I was in London and walking 4 or 5 miles with a friend in the wrong shoes. And I had developed what felt like shin splints. I'd had them before when I was younger and much more active. And I went to the Christian Science Church on Wednesday night, and it was a beautiful set of readings, I think on immortality. And I was not in any great pain, but I was uncomfortable, and I had 6 or 7 more days of walking, and I didn't really want to do it in discomfort. And I got home, and I probably took a shower and watched a little television or whatever, got to my hotel room, and was falling asleep. And I was working on it a little bit. And what came to me was, because I was so inspired by the first reader's readings, what came to me was, this has nothing to do with me. And instantaneously, those elements of discomfort, I can't even say it was pain, but it was certainly speaking to me. It certainly was making itself known. And so that citation of Mrs. Eddy is entirely separate, which is a challenging one, for me anyway. And I'm not always good with it. But I am glad that there have been occasions when I have been able to separate myself from animal magnetism suggestion that there's something going wrong in the body. Thank you for your reading.
Thank you. I'd like to share a little healing I had this week. For a couple days, everything seemed to be going wrong, and I was frustrated and irritated. And I dropped things or couldn't find things or trip over things. Just all kinds of little irritating things would happen. And in the Science and Health, Mary Baker Eddy says, stand porter at thought. And for 2 days, I tried to do that. And so anytime a minor irritation would arise, I would listen. I would stop and listen and say, no, that's not irritating. It's minor, and I'm just going to look to divine love to see something better in my life. And this continued until yesterday morning. It was still going on, and I stopped, and I just reached out, and I said, I could really use some help, God. This isn't right. I would like to be joyous and happy, and if things drop or get lost or I trip, that's fine, but I'd like to be joyous with them. And I went about my day, and it wasn't until the end of the day that I realized from that moment on, I stopped being irritated and I stopped being frustrated. I don't even know if irritating things happened. I just remembered I had a joyful day, and the joy remained. And these are little lessons, but they show us how immediate and how immediate God's response to our heartfelt prayer can be, whether it's minor or whether it's in what we could say a bigger healing. But I'm grateful to know that I have this resource, and I'm very grateful. Thank you to all for your prayers, for your testimonies, and for being with us tonight. Let's conclude by singing hymn number 100. He that hath God his guardian made shall dwell beneath the almighty shade. Thus of the Lord I now will say, He is my fortress, shield, and stay. My God, in him will I confide, and in his secret place abide. Hymn number 100.